So I'm just recording the bit of the screen that I'm sharing, not our ugly mode. Yeah, so from my point of view, as someone that's just sort of interested in doing hobby coding and stuff, it's to me it's like quite a fun way to get into doing games programming because the graphics are so lame. You don't have to worry about any of the sort of graphics engine type stuff. You just have to worry about game mechanics and gameplay and that sort of thing.
But fun, making it fun, you have to worry about.
Yeah, it is. Obviously, graphics programming is a massively complicated, huge thing, which is interesting in its own right. But for me, I'm sort of more interested in getting sort of incremental progress quickly rather than sort of having to jump into some massive API or library system of Unreal Engine or something. And you can just get going in Python. So I've sort of had a go with a Python library that I found because obviously Python has libraries for everything. And I'm a Python programmer in my day job. I sort of sent a link, and I've been plotting. So the way I usually attack these sorts of investigations is, is there a subreddit? Is there a Reddit community or some sort of community about these sorts of things? And as it turns out, there's a roguelike Reddit. You go on there, have a look at their info about the subreddit, and they point you to a sort of standard tutorial or a set of tutorials for different, programming languages. If you want to do it in C#, have a look at this thing. If you want to do it in Java, look at this thing. So I had a look at the Python one, and there's this big fat tutorial called rogueliketutorials.com. And it's based on some other things which have been around for a while apparently, and all this sort of stuff. I don't know, but it's basically using a Python library which talks to this underlying C library, which sort of does all the hard stuff for you. So I've just been plodding through this. I have got up to part 3, generating a dungeon. I'm walking around on it. Let me. I don't know. Do you guys use Python much? Or
yeah,
I do.
Right, I used to.
You used to, okay. So I like to work in virtual M's and that sort of thing. So I managed to get this thing set up inside a virtual M I set up the other day called Roguelike. So this is how far I've got. So look. Sorry, can you see all this stuff that
I can see it. I think Gary may have frozen.
Are you back, Gary?
I'm here. I'm still here.
Okay. I see a frozen screen, but it's okay.
Let's restart the video then.
How's it going?
Yeah.
Yeah, so I've got it to generate random dungeons. This is my character moving around. And that yellow thing which has been spawned inside a wall is a non-player character which I obviously can't interact with at all. So that's how far I've got. I'm intending to go through like the whole thing just to see what exactly you can do with it. But I don't know. Do you want to? Let's have a look at some code as well. It's pretty simple. I had some sort of trouble getting set up because these setting up instructions was more about getting it set up like on your machine rather than in any sort of virtualized environment. And I ended up sort of digging through how it's trying to install itself. But in the end, I got it to work. It seemed like so basically it's ending up using Make to build the underlying C library, and then there's a standard Python setup to sort of build the FFI to talk to that. So there's some supporting stuff you have to install as well. But it seemed like when I ran the make stuff, it sort of picked up Clang for most of it, and then decided to try and use GCC for another bit of it, and it just kept falling over at that point, and I couldn't figure out why it was doing that. So I just on my machine, and I was working on a Docker environment setup. So I just sort of got rid of GCC and symlinked it to Clang.
What year is it?
Sorry?
I said, what year is it?
I know. And then just ran it again, and it all went through and it worked. So
Cool.
I don't know whether that was something that gone wrong on my setup, or whether the make file had sort of said clang, 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 GCC for some reason. And yeah, so I mean, I've got it working as I got the environment set up in my virtual environment using a sort of little Docker thing that I'd set up. And then it just takes you through some very simple, it literally starts off with something as simple as this. It's a main file, does a hello world. There's some supporting stuff you have to download as well. This is the little character PNG for all the sprites.
Oh, it's drawing images on the screen, is it?
Yeah. So it's
So
actually...
you could replace those with more exciting sprites if you wanted to betray the Brotherhood.
Well, I mean, it is using this somewhere. I don't think I've started to use it yet, because I'm where am I? I'm at the point where let's get with that. I'll use Emacs for my. Don't say what year is it again.
No, that's not what I meant. I meant it's year 2021 and we're still struggling to get things to install conveniently.
Well, yeah, I know, but
it was an attack on the industry at large, not anyone, not in particular.
So actually, I've got quite. Let me go back a bit in my Git history. So this is like the first. So this is the sort of, after doing the Hello World, this is like the first sort of bit of it that you actually do something more interesting.
Yeah.
And yeah, look, it's actually just printing out like the ampersand character and stuff to the console. So yeah, it's really, really basic. You really don't have to worry about much.
You have to deal with
graphics and stuff like that. It's really just the raw, like, here are some, and this TCod library is the Python wrapper around the underlying lib TCod thing, and that deals with all of this, event loop and whatever.
okay.
Yeah. So all of these, like setting up the window, like I'm loading in that ping file there. Setting up a context with my terminal, setting up console on that context. That's all. It all just seems to be sort of standard boilerplate that TCod, gives to you for free. And then you can start mucking about with events and movements and writing your own actions and stuff. And the, this tutorial just sort of takes you through all that with sort of basically Git diffs of the files and so on. So I've been having quite fun just so that's where I was on the Git history there, and it's really gets into a lot of sort of basic stuff which you can just if you know Python or whatever, you can just and it's modern Python as well, by the way. So I don't know if you saw. Sorry, I'm sort of swirling around a bit here. Okay, let's look, it's got like type annotations and so forth, and it's all sort of modern Python 3 type code. So I got up to sorry. Just chatting about all the different all the different sort of boilerplate bits that you have to my setup. But I got 3. So yeah, I'm in the generating the dungeon bit, which is where it starts to actually do more sort of interesting stuff.
Are you building a sort of tree of something to represent each room, or are you sort of just making a big grid and then sort of feeding it with related stuff?
It's split things down into individual modules. You've got a couple of main actions that you can do at the moment, which is just escape from the game or move around like I showed you.
Yeah.
And the actions are just a simple type that lets you pass in the game engine and an entity, which is just anything that is in the game. So your character, eventually it'll be objects and monsters and so forth.
How is it getting which keystroke you pressed, or is that happening somewhere else?
So that's happening somewhere else. So I have the tutorial has I think that's in the input handlers. So it's again a bit of boilerplate. You subclass off of this dispatching thing, which takes in your own action. Yeah. So characterized by your own action, and then you have the different I guess things to handle, right? And this is all just stuff that you can pull out from your from the TCod library. So I presume there would be things for mouse, cursor, wheel, all that sort of stuff. Haven't got there yet, but it's just dispatching to the action, the events that or the actions that or the tutorial has defined in the appropriate way. So I guess you could also add in speed here. You could parameterize it and cut it up in different ways. And then so there's sort of alluded to. There's a main and a game engine. So he's split out from. Originally, he sort of in the beginning of the tutorial, he just has a great big main file. And he just keeps adding to it, and then he says, "Actually, this is a bit rubbish. Let's sort of split things out a bit." He has a set of entities, all characters and so forth, the handlers, a map, which is where the the random generation of the rooms is sort of handled by that thing, and then that the main engine just has handle events every loop and render when you've done that. So it just goes through each entity, renders the map, goes through the entities, renders those, clears, there's the old one and loops. So that's your main thing, it's been pretty fun. The game map is just pretty simple.
Is this how it's generating?
This is a container for that. The generation is done in this prop gen thing. Yeah, here we go. So at the moment, I can only generate rectangular rooms and corridors tunnels between the rooms, which is what we could see on that other thing. So it's got a couple of properties for some geometric properties, like the center of the room and whether or not. The way he does it is he makes a room is a rectangle of wall tile, and where a wall tile is opaque and can't be walked on, and then he carves out the middle of it as tiles that you can walk on and are not opaque. If you get my meaning. So that's what this inner thing is doing. It's carving out the middle of the room. So he sets that. I think you can see that in when we were just on. Let's see that. Oh no, that's setting it to. I think that's just setting it to setting the whole game map to walls, and then he carves the things out inside them. But so then he defines. So given that you can make a rectangular room in that way and have a checker that decides whether two rooms are intersecting. So this is to do with the random generation of them. When he's doing that.
Yeah.
He. I say he. I don't know if it's a he. I'm going to keep saying
Probably.
that. Yeah. The tutorial author.
Yeah.
Has two little functions here. One which does a tunneling between rooms, and the other one which generates the whole dungeon, given some sort of specifications.
So you just drop rooms around, remove ones that have put themselves in a bad place.
Yeah, he just iterates.
Up.
He just iterates like this over a max rooms parameter, and as you say, he just makes rectangular rooms and hopes that they're not intersecting. And then if they are intersecting, he just tries another one. So there, look. As he comments. Make a room and then dig out the middle of it and turn that into a floor. Yeah. So it's really simple to understand. And then stick the player somewhere in a room, and if it's your first room, and then for all the other rooms, just make the floor in the middle of them again. And then return the whole dungeon. So that.
Where's the line that was creating the baddie?
Oh yeah. I think that might still be in main. Hang on.
Probably why I wasn't checking then.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, we haven't got on to. And also, if he does end up in a room, you can just walk through him because there's no controlling like whether it doesn't even really know what it is. You can't walk through walls, so that's been implemented so far.
And is that you, or is that come with the?
No, so that's on. Have a look. That must be in. Oh, cracky. No, that's really dull. Yeah, there we go.
Move actions. Yeah.
So he works out where it wants to go to, and then he says, can I do that?
No, do it.
I've gone off the map. No, it's not walkable.
Yeah.
I mean, there's some sorts of things as I'm doing it. He's probably doing it this way because he's trying to do it in the most simple way without getting too complicated. But there's some things like using string walkable, probably using enum or something. But for the most part, it's really nicely written and so forth.
Yeah, cool.
The tunnel between then so obviously TCod has got a lot more to it than what I've discovered so far. Yeah. But to make these random tunnels between rooms, he's basically, I've never heard of this particular type of function before, but it's some sort of line of sight algorithm for getting from here, this point, XY, to a corner.
And then it gives you the cells you need to change. Yeah.
It yields out the tunnel coordinates, as it were. So that is what's coming up with all of bring it up again. So that's what's coming up with these.
Yeah.
All of these sorts of bits in between the rooms, like that little L-shaped thing there. I have no idea which room it took as the first one or the last one in this particular example, but so look, my guy, he can't walk through walls, but also if that yellow ampersand had spawned in a room, I wouldn't be able to interact with it. I think that's coming next.
Yeah.
What's the line of sight do? I'm a little. I was sort of digging into this a little bit. It's my Jupyter notebook for the environment. Do you guys use Jupyter at all? Or,
I keep meaning to.
highly recommended, especially if you're just sort of mucking about with stuff like this. But yeah, like if you give it something like that, so from 00 to 77, it just does the diagonal.
Right.
But then if you give it something slightly more complicated, it sort of seems to
works out a nice. So he's not aware of any obstacles he needs to go around.
Doesn't seem to be at the moment, no. So I'm gonna hope that that's dealt with later on.
Yeah.
I guess if you're just generating random rooms, right, and then checking out that they're not intersecting and throwing those on the way, then that probably means that you're always going to be okay with this kind of an algorithm to get the time between them, because there won't be an obstacle. And as it looks like with this example, when the corridors intersect, they just intersect. And,
doesn't matter, does it?
Yeah. But I suppose you would, if you wanted to have like a corridor go over another corridor and not intersect, so
it's a different thing then, isn't it?
Yeah, you'd have to have quite a complicated. Well, it'd be another.
Well, actually, you've just reinvented PCB routing, haven't you? So it will be a real pain.
Yeah. So just keep it simple, I guess. Yeah. So yeah, I've been sort of playing with this, just every now and again, doing another bit of the tutorial. I mean, you could quite literally cut and paste from the website into your Python files, and they all seem to be running, or type it out yourself, And yeah, it so far it seems to be working really well. I'm pretty happy. I haven't sort of looked ahead to see what's coming up next, but it seems to do quite a lot of stuff. Like I'm only here, and then it looks like we're gonna get onto like doing some sort of enemies can see me type thing. And then like he's going into the sort of the state management end of stuff and so on and so forth. So I think he's doing saving and loading, so it's not it's a roguelite. That sounds like. Yeah, so I reckon by the time I get to part 13, which I don't think will be very difficult, I'll have quite a nice little thing there. And I'm not sure what I want to do with it then. I might think about how you might make it into an online type game as well.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
Yeah, because sorry, we were just chatting before you joined, Tobias. Gary's doing a load of stuff with AWS Lambdas and such at the moment. So yeah, because I've done some work on that as well. So maybe some sort of API interface, with this as an engine, and you're just sending simple messages back and forth, move, fight, that kind of thing.
Cool.
That could be a way to make it online. I don't know.
Multiplayer? Get an opponent to play the baddie?
Yeah, well, that could be quite fun, couldn't it? Like if you randomly generate baddies and then say to people who are logged on, like, hey, there's a lion has just spawned, do you want to play it? That could be quite an interesting way to get people involved.
You should let people form teams and then go into the dungeons together, and then one of them can be Leroy Jenkins.
Yeah.
You've made like Warcraft, but hipster. It'd be brilliant.
Do you know that? Is it a meme?
I don't know what it is.
It's quite funny. It's like it's World of Warcraft, isn't it, from years ago?
Yeah.
Some guy. It seems a bit fake when I watch it, but some guy's like trying to do a dungeon raid or something with his team, and he just goes, let's go or whatever, and screams his name out, runs into this room, everyone gets slaughtered.
I think you have to see it.
Yeah. So that was one sort of thing I was thinking of doing to it. I think there's some interesting ways you could randomly generate or pseudo-randomly generate the dungeons as well.
Mm-hmm.
I was wondering whether one thing I thought of a while ago is like, could you use sort of the text of web pages to use as a sort of data set to generate both the topology of the dungeon and
so let users design their own dungeons, kind of thing.
Well, no, not design your own, but like if you point it at a web page, say a Wikipedia page, and it generates a dungeon based on the text of that web page and the hyperlinks. The hyperlinks become the corridors, and the text, the sampling of the letters of the textual bit of the website, tell you what animals you're going to generate in the. Do you see what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd have to see how it was implemented, but
so, yeah, sure, exactly. But then you'd be able to sort of walk around on the internet, generating dungeons.
Would you still see the text when you explore the dungeon? See the text?
No. So the text would just be a way of giving a corpus of data to randomly generate, monsters and items and that sort of thing.
You wouldn't know which page you were on and then go, oh god, this was full of hyperlinks, and then you get attacked by some kind of backlink. Like, oh my god, there's comments everywhere, and it would be all sort of.
Well, I was thinking the topologies of the web pages could become the rooms and the links between So when you go through a door, you jump onto another page and it randomly generates.
Oh right, so the sort of sitemap becomes the dungeon.
Yeah, exactly, yeah.
Oh okay, yeah, I get it. I'm on team. I was trying to visualize something different, but I get exactly what you mean now. Yeah.
Yeah, and then
cool.
And then obviously there's some places you can go because you have a password, but other people can't follow you, and stuff like that. So that was I was wondering about, instead of just purely randomly generating stuff, is there a way you can kind of guide it with data from somewhere? So the first thing.
Have you watched the film Hackers? Like the really old 90s film.
With, what's her face? Angelina Jolie?
Yeah.
Ages ago. What?
It feels like an interface like you're describing, where you get to sort of walk around the website as if it's rooms in a dungeon, is exactly what they'd use to hack the planet. You can get into the room and then you can be like, and sort of defeat all the monsters, and that gets you through the firewall, man, and now you're in the Pentagon. I think that's really cool.
You could do it like that. you could gamify hacking or something.
Hacking, yeah. No one would thank you if it actually worked.
No.
Or gave you the.
Or even older, war games, right?
Yeah.
I'm going to stop recording now.